Captain's Log Supplemental.
So, Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we were watching those WRL events and some of those grid life events where you used to see the in-car video and it had like the cameras seeing front and back, but it also could see all the telemetry and everything that was going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the ones that we liked were taken by the Sentinel system. Remember James came on our podcast earlier?
Right.
You know, we have no excuse since he lent us one for trial and demonstration purposes. We should actually probably put that in one of our cars. Maybe two.
I really think we should.
I think we should.
I know.
Because then we'd look like the immature endurance racing team that we are. Oh, wait, I mispronounced that, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. We could
So what does the
have
Sentinel system do?
we could have 3 cameras with picture-in-picture. We could have, if we ever get the AIM system to work, open invitation to anybody from AIM to come on and give us a little bit of love. We need some help. And then we could have all our telemetry on there. And then we can have it streamed live into the paddock or around the world to our millions of fans. We're apparently very popular in Kenya right now. Don't know why, but that's fine. And it can integrate all the available race statistics from like Race Hero and everything. So we could actually see how we're doing on video. We wouldn't even have to carry around our phone anymore. Live.
I love it.
From the great halls of their house, there are assembled 3 who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team. Dominating with Dawson.
Ben Dawson, I need me some Ben Dawson.
It's a great day at the Ben Dawson factory. How may I direct your call?
Oh, looks like this episode is chock full of Ben Dawson.
Okay.
Mr. Dawson, we had a listener interaction. It wasn't really a question, but I know how much you love listener questions. So it was a discussion on power steering, yes or no, on track cars.
It is one more thing to let you down.
It is one more thing to let you down.
You have to have it.
Would Ben Dawson want power steering or not want power steering, I guess?
How wide are your tires?
How wide are your
How
tires?
heavy is no? I mean, these are all serious considerations. How
They
heavy
are.
is your car? How wide are your tires?
How big is the
learned
paddock?
pretty quick. Yeah, I can't remember what the reason was why people chose to do this, but I depowered the rack in my Miata. You know, I just left enough fluid in there to keep everything kind of lubed up. I can't remember if it was it's been so long ago. There was some advantage to be gained. I don't know whether can't remember why.
You probably gained like a quarter of a horsepower in a Miata. That's 10%.
Yeah, I think the idea was just to taking the pulley off and replacing it with a different belt and stuff, so you got less drag on the motor. Right? That's what it had to be. Taking something off the motor that you didn't need to have pulling on the motor. But anyway, you know, in a Miata running on 205 width tires, it was a little bit of a a hassle, like, you know, pulling into a parking spot or, you know, driving around the paddock. You can kind of feel it. But once you got going at speed, you would never think like, oh, this car doesn't have power steering, I'm having a tough time. But if you have a car that's pretty laborious to drive, maybe a front wheel drive car where, you know, there's a lot of effort going through the front wheels, maybe you need power steering more. I don't know. I'm trying to remember if we depowered the steering in the E30. We probably did. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a hard fast feeling on it, but I think if I could get away without having the power steering and it was within the rules, I probably would think about doing it again on a lightweight car, not running huge, wide, fatty tires, you know.
Right, but if you got a high power car, the power draw from power steering is negligible. So it wouldn't really matter. It's just a preference thing, I guess. So
Yeah, I would say if you're one of these dudes running one of these big ground pounding classes like a sedan or Camaro Mustang Challenge, you probably run some pretty wide tires and it's maybe kind of a heavy car, so it might be worth keeping it in there. If you feel like it's
maybe.
holding you back, you could always depower it, throw a shorter belt on there, whatever it takes, or I don't know how everybody else does it, but I think it's always worth looking at. I don't have a
So
um
when I
thing
when
about
I first saw this one and we were talking about it, I was thinking about it from a different perspective, and um, I don't know if it's a picky perspective, but anyway, this is where I went.
it.
If
Okay.
the car is made with power steering, I probably want it to have power steering unless it's a bad power steering, because some of the power steerings that I've driven, especially the electronic ones, like the
Hmm.
not the newest electronic power steering, but it's kind of like the original flappy paddles. They were terrible.
Hmm. Yeah.
The
Oh yeah.
the original electronic power steering, you kind of had no feel through the wheel, and I'd rather have no power steering than have that. But like a good hydraulic power steering, I would kind of, if given my preferences, I would say I'd rather have that than not have power steering, just because I want to feel the car through the wheel, and that to me is more important than whether at speed it doesn't matter really, power steering or not power steering, because the resistance to the wheel movement is low. It's just when you're in a parking lot. But I want to feel the car as best I can, and the steering wheel is one of the primary ways that I feel the car. So if it's good, I want to feel it. But if it's terrible, I'd rather not have it.
Yeah. Yeah, or if your chosen platform has a often fails in that area, that'd be one reason to think about just taking it out, so that you won't have one less thing that's a potential
Yep,
fail point when you're in the middle of your front tire. Like you don't
true.
want to have your power steering go out when you're in the middle of the track, and you want to put that fluid down and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess there are a number of considerations to take in.
Hmm.
I did feel like I was feeling the car pretty well without it in the car and the vehicles I've driven without it. But then again, I'm also talking about cars that are way older with a way older steering system. So I don't
Yeah,
know how it goes up to past like 2000. You know what I mean?
yeah. So it's like everything else in racing. There's pluses and minuses, and then
Yeah,
preferences. I don't know that there's a right or a wrong, really.
yeah. I know with Reed's car, the E36 M3 that we're about to race this upcoming weekend,
Hmm.
that thing's got enough tire and enough power that you can drive it without power steering, but it's a lot of effort through the wheel. So you're
Hmm.
tired as hell when you come in, and you don't have the fine control that you do when the power steering is working. Like you pretty much just make a sweep into a corner. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to kind of flick and fight the wheel to the delicate way that you can when the power steering is working. So it slows us down, and I have power steering in that car. So I guess I should have made that connection up top. But it can be important in some platforms to have it in. Like he's making enough power where it's just beats the crap out of you. I can't remember if we're running tens or what the width is on the or not 10-inch wheels maybe. But anyway, fairly wide wheels and tires, and the car is making some power, so it's a real hassle. And for some reason, that car had been eating steering racks,
Hmm.
and so we kept ending up, start the race and race for an hour with power steering, then go out. That's what it did the last time we raced it at CMP, and it was a bear to drive without power, and it was also just made it a little less safe because you're not quite as able to be nimble and
Yeah,
to be able to do evasive maneuvers as quickly as we could. I mean,
yeah.
it wasn't
Reactions.
quite as responsive. Yeah, we just couldn't do all the stuff you could do. So you end up kind of giving everybody a little bit extra room. You don't drive as hard through the corners because you don't want to catch a bobble and end up walling the car or something. So
Yeah, yeah. We had
that's
that
something to think about
problem
too.
with the before we knew what maintaining a race car meant. We had that problem with the trophy truck where
Oh
it
man,
turned out that we were going through like a power steering pump every race,
wow,
sometimes more than one. And the summary reason, we had all these, very fancy technical uh, potential solutions that we tried to come up with or talk to people about or change parts or whatever. And it turned
right,
out the problem was we hadn't maintained the car very well. So the um, ball joints and other rubber uh, components that are filled with grease were filled with grease and sand. And it was basically the power steering pump was trying to turn things through essentially cement filled uh, tie rods and ball joints and
ouch,
just overworking it. So we learned a few things there, but in that case, when the power steering wasn't there, you were turning against that type of resistance, and it was actually to the point where you really couldn't turn the wheel fast enough to do what you needed to do. So we just parked it.
That's scary.
It was funny because somebody came in and they said, "Oh, I'm really tired." And I'm, when somebody says, "Oh, I'm really tired, I'm coming off the track," your first response of race car team is like, get out there. Don't be be a wimpy guy
Yep.
about this and just get out there and blah blah blah." So I hop in the car and I take it around one lap and bring it right back in. I'm like, "Nope, this thing's not safe."
Yeah, that's funny. That's like the time we raced Lemons and we were racing MR2. They replaced one of the rear parts with a rear suspension part that broke with one same generation, but there had been a sub generational change. So we borrowed a part from some other team that was racing MR2s. It really messed up the rear geometry. So the first guy that went out there drove, he's like, the front end's all loose. I'm like, no way. The front end of a car can't be loose, Harry. So he brings it in, I'm like, let me get in there. And I get out there, and the car had tried to hit the wall with the front darting all over the place. Going down the pit lane at Sears Point, the car tried to kill me like 5 times. I mean, I still drove the entire stint, and it was hilarious. I never went off track, but a car sure can be loose in the front. It turns out
Who knew?
that thing was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I asked the team, I was like, I was passing more people than I got passed by, right? They're like, no, it was crazy.
Well, these things happen. Yeah, it's fine. All right.
Yep.
So we don't really have a firm yes or no. We've got some things to think about. How about that?
Yeah, yeah. And let's see. Since we got off track, let's think about what our considerations probably are. Big ones: power,
Mm-hmm.
weight of vehicle, width
Mm-hmm.
of tires,
Mm-hmm.
effort of steering in general. Yeah, those are things to think about whether you're thinking about depowering your junk. And what else is that? What are you doing there?
Feel.
Oh, feel. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And then
Because you don't want to be
reliability.
fighting the wheel. Yeah,
Yeah.
reliability too is true. Like, you could have a consideration about, like, yeah, let me knock this thing out before it knocks me out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, feel for the car is important. You don't want to lose out. You don't want to lose out on some of the sensitivity or nimbleness you may have with the power steering by taking it out. If that's
Mm-hmm.
a consideration. It didn't matter. I mean, it didn't matter at all in Miata. You could still slice and dice with it, whatever you need with a little small car. But when they start getting bigger, it's something to think about.
Mm-hmm. So it's
And yeah,
driver
I'm
preference.
sorry. Yeah, and I mean, the one last thing I was going to say is, if you, because the last thing you want to be doing is fighting the wheel where you're grabbing the wheel and having to do it. You still want to be doing this with your fingertips and being able to be loose with the wheel. Just like my kid's teacher teaches her with the violin bow. You just want to have your wrist completely loose on the violin bow.
Mm-hmm.
The same kind of thing with the steering wheel. You should be able to do it with 2 fingers on each hand if possible, and keeping your wrist really loose. So if taking power steering out makes it where you got to start having that, like monkey grip and hang on the wheel just to get the steering done, and that's a counterproductive move, I would say. And that's kind of putting you in the territory of like what we end up with the E36 when that thing eats a rack.
There are safer ways to get a lat workout.
Much cheaper ways too.
Much cheaper, indeed. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Appreciate it.